Hey guys, Gaddock here, bringing the news for the week of March 29th, 2013. We seriously have way too much to talk about this week, so let's cut the chatter and check out what happened this week in TOR. There was an information blowout this week regarding the Rise of the Hutt Cartel digital expansion. First, we now know that Rise will officially release April 14th, and all players who pre-ordered the expansion before January 7th will receive 5 days early access, allowing them to visit the planet McCab on April 9th. Simultaneously, patch 2.0 will be deployed to all players on April 9th, so even if you're not an early adopter, you will have something to play with. On top of this announcement, the Bioware devs were giving meaty interviews to several fan sites around the web. There are a lot of questions from all over the place, so I'm just going to choose one question from each interview that I found unique and interesting to focus on. If you would like to read the full interviews, and I suggest you do, you can find a link to each one of them in the show notes below. This one really isn't a question per se, but lead designer Brian Audette revealed that there will be an 8th new operations boss available in the expansion. More exciting still, this will be the game's first official lair boss. From what I can gather, lair bosses will be similar to the Xenoanalyst event boss. I love me some Xenoanalysts, so I'm happy to hear that we'll be getting something similar soon. Full disclosure, I hate world bosses, but they are great ways to get people out of the main hubs and into the world. I think it will be a nice change of pace traveling in the world without having to deal with respawn timers and griefing. It looks like PvP will continue to take its good news with bad. The good news is that Bioware acknowledges that ranked war zones are currently broken, and that there are not enough people playing them. I think at this point raideds need to go cross-server to increase player participation. This, along with the launch of Season 1 and a global ranking system similar to League of Legends, will go a long way towards drumming up interest in ranked PvP. I just hope Bioware figures something out quickly before they lose what is left of the PvP community. If you've seen my coverage of the new gear sets in the PTS, you know how laughably ugly I find most of them. Cyclops Bounty Hunter and Hammerhead Shark Sorcerer are far from what I would call inspired by classic Star Wars, but hey, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I personally would prefer more toned down gear in future tier sets, but that might just be me. This question here is probably the most alarming to me. It really feels like Bioware is going hard company line. As far as I can tell, the only difference in story for each class will be the cutscenes, and you'll have to perform the same actions over and over in each tune. I would love to be proven wrong on this, but I get the feeling that Bioware is just trying to dance around the question. Bioware, you need to come out and say, yes, it's mainly just dialogue choices. Stop propping up the players for a letdown. That is a bad move, and you've done it in the past. I don't see why you keep doing it. Players get pissed every time, and it never works out. Just come out and be very straightforward. We're not dumb people. We're players of games and we like your game. Just tell us what you're giving us, not what you want to believe you're giving us. So that's what struck me most from each interview. There's also an interview up on Mad Sith Assassin focusing on the Shadow Assassin advanced classes. I'm not going to go in depth here since I know very little about them, but it's a great read nonetheless. There's also a ton of information on the expansion on all these sites, so if you want to know more about the secret droids or the macro binoculars, check out the great articles these guys are posting regarding their experience in the closed beta. And hey Bioware, I'd love to do an interview sometime, just call me. Following this media blitz, Bioware very quietly leaked this image on the forums. It would appear that the next expansion is already in development. Titled Journey to Gunga City, Eric Musco gives us an idea of what Bioware has in store for this new update. In the new Journey to Gunga City expansion, players will have access to a whole new way of playing the game. For the first time in the game's history, players will be able to swim, allowing them to uncover secrets of the Gungan society. We have heard your feedback requesting more new companions, so players will unlock a new Gungan companion who is romanceable by both genders. This new companion will be fully voiced, and as of my last count has 6 times the number of recorded dialogue than any other companion. There's so much more exciting stuff I can't talk about yet, but you'll be happy to know we pulled resources from the Stupid Space Project in order to make Journey to Gunga City the most expansive content. Tuesday, Bioware released another dev vlog about Rise of the Hutt Cartel, this time focusing on the planet Darvanis and the new Scum and Villainy Operation. The post gives a little backstory to the planet, as well as sets up a few encounters that players will be expected to tackle. It's a very fast read, so if you're a fan of PvE or you can't get enough information about the expansion, head over to the mothership and take a look at this one. Also Tuesday, Bioware released patch 1.7.3, which I will lovingly refer to as the Ready Check patch. You can probably guess what my favorite part from this patch was, but there was also the Heartless Pursuer's armor set added to the cartel market, as you can see my character modeling here. On a more bittersweet note, Bioware has finally decided that the best course of action in dealing with the very low populations of the Asian Pacific servers was to merge them into the Western servers. I know this rubbed a lot of players the wrong way, just like the initial server migrations, but this was probably the best course of action in this situation. I know the Asia Pacific folks have the added baggage of latency to deal with, but the alternative of merging all the APAC servers together would not solve the root problem as stated by Eric Musco in the follow-up post. I get the feeling the Old Republic never really took hold in the East, but hopefully the faster queue times and active communities can make up for all the lag. His next post to the forums, made by Austin Peckinpah, is very near and dear to my heart, as the first character I leveled for PvP was my DPS Commando, and I'm happy to see some drastic changes to their design. Allowing a gunnery Mando to work at near maximum potential after one grav round is a godsend. Now all of that is well and good, but the comments made by Austin in this follow-up post really worry me. While it's true that class balance in MMOs is an infinite iteration process, it is scary to hear that the McKev release date was far beyond the control of his senior game designer. One thing I always commended WoW on was its done when it's done philosophy. If the designers are not 100% confident in what they're producing, you're setting yourself up for failure. The deadline for Rise of the Hutt Cartel is a self-imposed one, and I personally didn't expect to see it until way late in May. If the Bioware devs are not the ones calling the shots when it comes to these things, I'm afraid for the future of the game. Maybe I'm just taking these quotes out of context though. Boy, do I hope I am. Finally, for a long time players have asked why there is no deserter debuff, preventing players from finding a new group after quitting a war zone early. Rob Hinkle believes that this sort of lever deterrent unjustly punishes players who disconnect during matches. I tend to agree, since the backfilling system works relatively well, especially during high population times. On a similar subject though, I feel the vote kick system needs some promotion. I know the developers want to avoid kick griefing, but I've never seen a person get vote kicked from Warzone, even if they were clearly AFK. There needs to be a more visual reorientation of the vote kick system so players know what is going on and why a person deserves to be kicked from the group. That's all the headlines from this week. If you like this segment, make sure to check out my YouTube page at youtube.com/TheGaddockTeague. Until next week, this is Gaddock Teague. Enjoy the rest of your show.
Hello everybody, Zen here, bringing you more patch 2.0 content on the PTS. This is all pre-recorded footage, and we are in hard mode Scum and Villainy again. This time we're showing you Thrasher, which is the third boss. Now, you shouldn't take any of this video as a guide because of two reasons. One, it's probably going to change the fight that is by the time it's actually released. And two, because we're probably not doing it as efficiently as we should. But there are a few differences you need to know about. So he still has all of his normal abilities that he does in story mode. He has that knockback that he just did there, which is a tank swap. The other tank has to taunt and be in range, because if the tank isn't in range, he'll do an AoE pulse. It'll do a ton of damage to the group, right? So that's the story mode thing. Then the other thing that remains is the fact that there's still the guy on the bottom who will target a random guy, random raid member, and run to them, and they have a little blue reticule underneath them. They have to run to the side of the room, drop the fire that the guy leaves when he blows up, and just kind of keep it away from the raid. That's the best way to think about it. The other thing that continues to happen from story mode is these ads will spawn. What makes it a bit different is that I think there are slightly more from them, I could be wrong on that, and the fact that you have to kill them within a certain amount of time because they will enrage, and if they enrage, then they do a ton of damage to the group by spawning two turrets, which isn't good. So there's a few ways you could probably take care of this, right? You can't shoot them with ranged. They have a shield on them, so what ends up happening is that all the damage just gets absorbed. There is one guy you could shoot, but the snipers you can't shoot with ranged unless they get out of their little cover that they're in. And you could do this by stunning them and whatnot when you're up there, but for the most part, you can only charge to at least one of them. So you have a melee DPS if you need to, charge up, or you can do what I'm doing here. So I'm pointing my back at the wall, and I'm getting knocked up to help these guys, because I can taunt these, and there's little health packs that'll spawn against the wall that you can get. So if you're tanking them, you can heal yourself up real quick. But you want to just burn these guys down as fast as possible. We found the most efficient way was with our 2 melee that we have in our group, and then me, or the other tank when he gets knocked up. So that's kind of our way of handling the ads. There's a few other things you could do. You can have someone get up there. Say you have like a Juggernaut DPS or something like that. You can have someone be up there and then they could charge to him. You could get an Inquisitor up there and you can yank somebody up, because what you want to do is those two people that we have up there just remain up there for the entire fight. If they have to run across the room to get to the other wall, like say if it spawns on the direct opposite wall of what they're at, instead of running all the way around the room, they'll just run right through the middle and jump up. So that's another way of doing it. And it's a bit kind of glitchy, which is something BioWare needs to fix at the moment, which is you can charge the target, but sometimes it won't let you. It'll say like it's not in line of sight, but you can clearly see them and everything. So that needs to be fixed. But for the most part, you just got to get a couple people up there. 2 people is fine. 1 really good DPS is even better. The boss dies fairly quickly, so it's not that big of a deal. And the tanks get a buff. I don't know if this is on story mode, because I don't remember it, but the tanks get a buff that make them do a little bit more damage, which is why we're getting ourselves knocked up here to take out the ads, because it's just easier that way. Plus, we can tank them, so that way the boss isn't hitting our melee DPS and doing a ton of damage to them. So make sure your DPS are standing on the side of the wall, kind of like what we're doing here, and that way you can still get heals and stuff. But for the most part, you could just switch them out one after another, the DPS that are up there with the health packs against the wall. So that's an easy way of taking care of that. Other than that, it's a pretty easy fight. It's way more entertaining on hard mode than it is on story mode, which is good because they needed to fix that. It was pretty terrible. And you're going to have to come up with some way to get 2 guys up there. Get creative. Use all the different abilities you have. You have multiple abilities. Heck, you could even just throw 2 people in front of the boss at the beginning of the fight, right after the ad comes out, and they could get knocked up on the wall and then just stay up there. So that's another way of doing it. It's not like you're completely gimped based on your group composition. It just makes it a little harder if you don't have melee DPS or an easier way of doing it. But as you see there, we managed to take him down quite easily. Make sure you kill the ads afterwards. It only took us a handful of tries, actually. We were going to kill it the try before, but we wiped it at 1% on purpose because I wasn't recording. I wasn't expecting for us to get that close to killing it. So it's not that difficult, but at the same time, it's more fun, and I like it. It's more chaotic. If you have an organized group like we do, you'll be able to take it no problem. If you have like a pug group, probably not. It'll be a bit more work. But the loot from him isn't crazy exciting or anything. However, if you want to see it anyways, I will show you here as we switch ahead, waiting for our DPS. There you go, earpiece, one of the crafting materials, and then a belt. So that's what you could possibly get out of Thrasher, and hopefully I'll be able to bring you even more hard mode content. Next up is the operations guy with the splitting of the group, and that is a fun fight to explain. So look forward to that tomorrow. But on that note, we'll see you guys next time.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of TORWars TV. This is the Community Blender segment, and I'm coming to you live from my gaming closet. We converted my master closet into a gaming room for me, and so here we are, and I've got I'm about to start some PvP while I'm talking to you guys. So that ought to be an interesting adventure, as I'm actually moving my character right now while I'm staring at the screen. But I wanted to talk about these double XP weekends. Obviously double XP is awesome. There's a lot of amazing things about double XP. My character that I'm playing right now, for example, my sniper, just getting so many levels over the last 3 weekends. This is the third weekend of a double XP weekend. So I have to ask myself, man, obviously that's a great thing, but I have to ask myself, what are some negative things about double XP weekend? Right off the top of my head, I can immediately think, okay, I'm spending a lot more money than I'm making just on leveling my skills as I level my character. Every time that I level to a new level, I'm going to the trainer, I'm spending tens of thousands of credits to get those new abilities and those new skills. And so obviously that's a good thing that I'm getting those new skills and abilities, but I'm really not necessarily running out of money, but I'm having to be a lot more conscious of maybe some abilities that I don't need right now, so I'm not going to buy that ability. Obviously, too, you have the concern about gear, making sure you have enough money to gear up your team. For me, I like to do PvP as my primary way to level on the double XP weekends, and so I can use my Warzone commendations to kind of gear up at level 20, at level 40, and have some decent gear. But then you have the other, like your companion, and you're not getting as many comms because you're leveling so fast. You're not getting those comms to kind of keep those comms coming in. I'm not able to max out my ranked Warzone comms. Obviously, too, you have a lot of people that maybe are higher levels, but maybe they're not as good a skill. Maybe they haven't had as much time to learn their abilities, to learn their hotbar, to figure out what it is that makes their class tick, as far as the ability to, play their class well, because they started at level 1 and just blew through levels, and now they're in a Warzone with you or in a Flashpoint with you, and they're not as skilled players. Obviously, that's good in a Warzone if you're up against a bunch of people that aren't as skilled as others. So I want to hear what you have to think, or what you have to say about the double XP weekends. What are some negative things that maybe you see from the double XP weekends? Obviously, from a level perspective, a pure level perspective, and how fast you're leveling your character, it's beautiful. Makes perfect sense. I love it. I want one of these every stinking weekend. But also, we got the expansion coming out here in just a few days on April 9th. If you pre-ordered, you can start then. Man, I tell you what, the hitting the brakes at level 50 from double XP to not only normal XP, but having to do that grind from 50 to 55, that's going to be a pretty big shock for some of us that haven't really leveled our tunes with normal experience in quite some time. Also, I want to hear what you have to say about the quadruple XP weekends that are coming up that they just announced today. Quadruple XP weekends is going to be amazing. I mean, but you're going to have the same problems. You're going to level twice as fast as we did on double XP weekends. And those quadruple XP weekends that are going to be happening once a month after the launch of Rise of the Hutt Cartel, I mean, that's obviously going to compound all these problems that I've talked about. So what do you think about the quadruple XP weekends that are coming up? I'm excited about it, but at the same time, I'm going to have to save up a bunch of credits to pull off the ability to really be able to level my character, gear and abilities and all those things very well. So I hope you all have a great experience with the Wrath of the Lich King. I keep doing that. I'm dumb. Wrath of the Lich. When I see ROTHC, I automatically think Wrath because it starts with a W, but it's a R. I'm stupid. So what do you think about Rise of the Hutt Cartel? You excited about that? Let me know what you think about double XP weekends. Let me know how excited you are for quadruple XP weekends. And folks, I will see you on the next Community Blender. TORWars TV, Alan, out. See you next time.
Con los terroristas.
And do the Harlem Shake.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of TORWars TV. As always, you can find great Star Wars The Old Republic content at TORWars.com. We have great daily updates at TORWars.com. You can find the best in news, opinion, insight, and discussion updated multiple times a day. Our talented team of writers thrive on feedback from the community, so if there's something you want to read about, be sure to let us know. Make sure you check out the Twice Weekly podcast as well. We talk about news, opinion, insight, and whatever's going on in the world of Star Wars The Old Republic. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to leave us a comment in the show post below. See you next week.